All right, fantastic. Oh, okay. Andrei, I'll give you the floor, and
I will then just share the screen.
You're in charge.
Yeah. Super.
Thank you so much.
Hi, once again. We will not only have slides, we will also talk like I can actually stop sharing, and we will also talk like normal people. So yeah, not a problem. But I will start with some of the slides just to introduce the agenda and so on and so forth. Actually, yeah, it's simple in terms of timing. I think we will fit within an hour and a half. I hope that I will be talking no more than an hour, and we will have some Q&A, and maybe we'll do some stuff as well. In terms of what we will do and how we will do it, I cannot escape but do some intro and basically introduce the problem. And I would like to talk about the mindset. You know, it's trendy to say that basically you start resolving anything, including customer development, with the mindset. Then I know that there is a highly appreciated topic, and basically everybody is asking, all right, all of this customer development is super good, but could you just give us one experiment that we could run and basically solve all of our problems? And I think I will try to give you that one, the best experiment. And then of course, some of the resources and the Q&A. So that's the plan. Now, why Andrei is here, basically we've cooperated a lot with our business incubator. And overall, I've been more than 8 years in the design of a product, a strategy, service, and I think more than 4 years working with incubators, so on and so forth. Of course, it helps to show some of the customers. Most of these customers did more than 2 projects actually with my agency, with me. Tells you they're either like suffering or they do like the job, and these are the startups that I work with. Currently, I actually work as a senior director and vice president of product in a startup called Qubit9. So that's the one. So believe me, it's a funded startup. But anyway, believe me, I know what I'm talking about, and I do know how that feels on your side. So working in a startup for the moment as a product vice president. Now, I'm ready to continue. If you have no questions, let's go into the problem. It's always good to check if you are with me so far. I hope so. Okay, so this customer development, so on and so forth. Honestly, I won't spend too much time on the problem. You know that, you know it yourself. That's actually a huge number. And by the way, it is out of VC-backed startups. So 75% of the VC-backed startups. So more or less after the seed round. This is that many of the backed by the VCs to fail. And you can only imagine how many fail before they actually get at least some funding. So that's a terrible number. And there are a lot of these post-mortems here and there, and the numbers do change a little bit if you look through the years, but more or less 2 things stay on top. No market need and run out of money. These 2 stay on top as the reasons why startup fail. These 2. Now, you know that actually any research, anything you would need to understand. So I would like to propose a kind of an exemplary two cases on this, on the no market need. This one is actually very simple, and you know that it's very difficult actually to start any venture before having a solution. Then you push for that solution, and then all of a sudden you realize nobody is needing that. So this is simple, but actually run out of money to me is even more interesting. If you look through what this startup team has actually said, they're saying at the end of the day, despite multiple approaches and incarnations in pursuit of the ever elusive product market fit, we eventually run out of money. So it's not just we had no money. It is because we were trying to get this product market fit, and we didn't. And this is how we run out of money. This is, we couldn't raise the next round, so on and so forth. So in a nutshell, and of course, the next reasons out of the top 7 got out and competed, pricing cost issues, user unfriendly product without a business model, so on and so forth. To me, all of this is a nutshell, is a baby of not actually testing or thinking or designing before. Now, this customer development topic or design thinking topic sometimes is being understood as something superficial. Like there is this proper startup job, like we need the next round, we need to create a product, let's go for that. Actually, VCs do foster this kind of behavior. For them, unlike for you, it's a number game. So they don't care if a particular startup fails or not. They just on average make it up. But for you, it is not so. So actually, again, customer development sometimes is being perceived as something superficial, artificial, separate, but in fact, it is not. Usually in the normal situation, this is how we live in our startup for the moment. Either product development or go-to-market team do carry on this job, do carry on this customer development role. It's not something special. It's just a way how actually, and it does not replace product development, business development, or go-to-market, not at all. But it does help them to do the proper job. Basically, what is this competitive value proposition? What kind of pricing should we offer? Some elements of the business model or go-to-market. And all of this, and I couldn't stress this more, before we actually spent our 10, 50, 100,000, 200,000 euro or dollars on the MVP or the product. So that's the thing. And in experience of many teams that have been practicing customer development, usually the second time founders, serial founders, they do that. It did help them a lot. Now, is this a problem? It looks like Andrei is saying that absence of customer development leads to all of these problems. So just go into the customer development, your problem solved. Actually, yes and no. Yes and no. From again our experience in many cohorts, and you can talk to anybody in the team managing the cohorts. Basically, at the level of comprehension, I didn't see a team who would object that properly researching customer, testing, experimenting wouldn't help. Everybody agrees, but this almost never done. That's the problem. So I would say that the real big one, it's not that many teams and many startups fail because they don't test or research. It is that they know that they would need to do that, and they just don't know how to do it practically, don't believe in that, no time, so on and so forth. If you were looking for an ideal world, and I just want to give you these 3 big titles, whichever discipline you go for, whichever one you like, customer development per se, design thinking, or service design, you will get a solution. But again, nobody in real life goes for that. So why is that? Well, my assessment, and this is qualitative research, not backed by numbers, but more based on the experience of working with the teams and experience in the field. I think the number 1 problem is the wrong mindset. As I said, we have this rush for actually doing stuff, developing, and we don't have a proper, and I will use the word culture or education, that design is important. I will touch on that later. Another one is solution trap. Actually, it's inevitable. You as founders, you cannot start your thing without seeing a solution. Otherwise, how dare you? So it's very natural. Yes, you have to have a solution, but then it kind of dictates that, back those days when I decided to start my venture, that was the solution. Now, how can I, or somebody question, or even try test it? I need just to go for it. So that's a solution trap. I already touched on education, but besides the education, because okay, we get in the school what we get. This training very often is, we go along the frameworks and preaching the thing. It's not practical enough, or we get the practical training too late. This thing on the role, I said, that's a big one as well, and some of the perceived framework complexity. I will try to more or less cover these three, and you will see how today. So that's the plan. That's the plan. I covered the intro. I covered the problem. A couple of words on the mindset. Literally 2 or 3 ideas here, and we jump into the practice. So that's the plan. Now on the mindset. You know that whatever thing you want to do in your life, like whatever, become an entrepreneur, you have to start believing that you can actually do something, not out of the desperation. You want to get into some sports, you have to first work with your mindset and then buy a subscription. Whatever thing starts with how you see the world. And basically it's back to the question of, don't get me wrong, faith. If you are prepared to make that step into the unknown and then get a reinforcement, get a positive experience, and then make a couple of more steps. So that's why I want to start with the mindset. Unless you get it right with regards to this design, customer development, whatever experiments, nothing will actually help, no training. There will be one very small step here. I will offer you to do a very concrete step, a small one, and if it gives you a positive reinforcement, then it's my contribution to your mindset. But please take this as that's a self-assignment. You will have to work with the mindset yourself. Okay, but now what about mindset? That's the classical thing that I was already complaining about. Everybody's doing that. VCs are fostering this behavior. Let's run into the thing. Let's just build it. Let's build it. We got the money. We got no money. Doesn't really matter. Let's build and then let's sell. Build and sell. And you can guess what the problem is. The problem is sometimes you have to think ahead. So the proper one, and this is actually, if you go by any best practice of any of those frameworks that I was already preaching, design thinking, service design, customer development, everybody is saying, guys, you do have to invest in design before you actually build. This is not a surprising message, but actually nobody does that. Now, what's the message here? Very often design is associated with something like that's an art. We didn't learn how to do that, but what I would propose to you, and this is part of the mindset, actually, it's a craft more than of an art, and to the level that you need to think before build. Very often, it's very simple. And I will try to illustrate this today with that one experiment, one and the only experiment that we have. Now, there will be a universal principle to any design, and I will now pose it as a proposal. I will not get into any details, but now it is on the screen just for the reason that we come back later and see in that one experiment that I propose to you how that actually worked. If you're ready, that's the most complex slide that I have. After that, everything is very simple. Look at this thing. You have this challenge, of course. Yeah, we have some challenge, and then there are these enigmatic words: diverge, inspiration. So what is this about? Very simple. And anyone who's been through any kind of training in problem solving or whatever knows that ideally you do generate more than one solution before you converge. More than one solution. What does that mean practically to you? Even if you have the very best idea on what is your value proposition, basically, why would customers switch from alternatives and competitors to you? It's better to generate a couple of ideas and then test them. And after you've tested, then you converge on the best solution. This is the closing that you have. I will try to show you that when you want to embark on the very idea that no matter what we do, we need to decide how we will, which channels we will use, or what kind of partners, what kind of pricing, what kind of offer we will make. It does make sense to go this way before this way. I mean, generating a few ideas into closing. Sounds very simple. Let's see how that works. All right. We are right by the schedule and trying to be very practical today. One super experiment, as promised. As promised. What is this one super experiment that, like a philosophical stone, you touch anything with it within the startup world and everything turns into gold? Be prepared to laugh. Yes. You say one experiment and I say three. No, you cannot get by with one. You cannot get by with one. I tried it hard. You cannot get by with one. But with the three, more or less, yes. Yeah. And say thank you. Actually, the books on customer development say you can do at least 50 different experiments. So three is a pretty good number, actually. So I would propose three experiments. I will just name them, but we are going into the details and workings of each one of them. The first one sounds very strange. It's called silent interview. How the interview can be silent. Let me present you with this with a solution to this enigma a little later. But basically, it is how to qualitatively test your value proposition. Now, the central one, and it's not coincidental that it is in the center. It's actually how to test whether the customers will pay you. And the third one is super mega practical. It's about the MVP. Now you could ask, Andrei, why have you been teasing us with this one idea of one super experiment? I think this mock sale number 2 is actually can be considered as the center of everything. And that's why we are close to one central experiment. And believe it or not, I would like to start with this number 2, not with number 1, not with number 3, but not with number 2. Actually, before I go into any details, and it's going to be there, I will tell you a story, a funny story on this one. But to me, it's very kind of emblematic on why this mock sale thing that I'm proposing to you to look into is important. Back in summer 2021, with a partner, Andrei was launching his own startup studio. You know that everybody who is working with the startups, consulting startups, does customer development projects for the startups, sooner or later gets infected with his own startup idea. I was not, I just followed that path. So I got infected as well. But of course, I couldn't just start my own project, only one. I thought, I have a better idea. I will start a startup studio. I will have both of two worlds. Basically, we will launch a lot of startups with like early idea phase. We'll take them through the pre-seed, seed stages, and then up until the round A, basically the studio gives up the well, at least in gets an investor who invests really a lot, and the cap table does change a lot. But up until that moment, basically the studio takes care of the startup. Supposedly the studio should help exactly because it has competences on this early stage. So that's the thing that I was launching. Sales tech, MarTech, and actually marketing within the blockchain. These were the startup thesis, the studio thesis that we were pursuing. But of course, whether you launch a studio or just one project, you need to have money. And we found an investor, an LP, and the funding was significant. The planned funding was significant, but then we needed to go through some formalities there. And the only thing that he asked was actually, the only serious conversation was, how will you prove to me, before I go for a seed investment, that the idea is worth pursuing, that it is worth of spending this 50K euro for development or 100K. And we got him convinced, and he is a serious, very serious businessman. I cannot name him. We persuaded him with this mock sale idea. That was a little bit of the advertisement of this experiment. In a nutshell, it's very simple. Imagine if you could answer, and actually for that investor, we did answer those questions with the mock sale. Imagine if you could answer all of these questions, all of this, but let me actually propose to you this one. If they are prepared to pay, the customers, if they are prepared to pay. What if you did know the answer to the question? Would it be great if you knew the answer to this question? If they are really prepared to pay, and not just somebody telling you, yes, I would buy this app for $1 or this product for $1, but if you really had a very good, solid kind of proof that they are prepared to pay. What if you had that? Wouldn't it be great? Yeah, that would be great. It wouldn't be great to have that actually before the development, before the product is out there. It wouldn't be great to have this if it costs 1,000 euro or 5,000 euro before investing 50,000 or 100,000, so 10 times or even 100 times more. That's basically the key idea of this mock sale experiment, to answer that question. But actually, along the way, you do get much more. You do get answers to the question in which channel it works, if they spend time with your product, if they're interested to wait for a product, if it is not yet on the market, your customer acquisition costs, and so on and so forth. I think you've guessed it already. Usually when I ask this question to the teams, and I don't do that now only for the sake of time, have you done this? Many cases, like very often 30-50% of the teams, they say we did it. So let's look at it. So how to test it? You've guessed. Imagine that you have a web page or a landing page or both, where all of your tariff plans are already there. You thought them through, and there is, of course, yes, there is many more. Basically, you are explaining your product, and you drive the traffic to this landing page, and the customers do click on this get started or talk to us, meaning that they are interested in this concrete money, interested to pay. And basically, if you have enough traffic into this thing, then you can safely guess, yeah, something is happening there. So that's the idea. Basically, the mock sale, you imitate the sale. That's the idea. You imitate the sale. Product is not ready. There is no product out there, just a landing page, and still you can drive the traffic onto the landing page and see if the customers click. So that's the idea. This is how you get all of these beautiful things. Now, for the sake of storytelling, I would like to show you how we've done this thing in the startup that I'm working in currently. I will stop the presentation. I will show you some of the screens, how we've done it actually. And from that, I think you will get an idea. It's much better than 1,000 words. Now, let me go. I will pause sharing for a moment. And now I go into Safari to show you these landing pages. Yes, everything meant to be very nice and smooth. Give me a second. Yeah, I'm up there. Resuming sharing. There you are. There you are. So what we actually did in real life. Let me get into another screen now. In order to make that experiment, we posted some of the ads in both the Facebook and we did the Google ads. And these were the types of ads that you would see. So we've done that. And we had many versions of that here and there, and this one and this one. So these are the examples of actual ads that went into Facebook and Google. We draw the traffic where onto where? Onto both landing page and the website. So that's a sample of the landing page and the website. Now, important thing, if you remember, I told you how our startup, what our startup name is. It's called Qubit 9. And you go through this page and you never see a Qubit 9. There is no Qubit 9. There is some enigmatic name called Backup Hunt. So that's the one that we invented. We didn't want to risk at that point in time actually our real name. So we created a website with whatever sounded good enough. So that's not our real brand. We wanted to be 100% safe on that. So we just found the domain, invented the name, and created the website. And basically, from the digital ad, either in Facebook or in Google, we got the traffic into this thing. We tried to, create as smooth, as simple journey as possible. So basically, besides the ad, the idea on the product was very, very simple. It's over here. The thing that I'm working in via, if you're familiar with the infrastructure as a service, when you basically can spin up a server or whatever, do computer storage out in the cloud, Amazon Web Services or DigitalOcean or Azure or Google Cloud would be the competition. So we are trying to compete there, starting with the cloud. So we've provided a very, very ascetic explanation of what's there. And basically, if you're fine with that, I pre-filled it, you could already go for a free trial, sign up for a free trial. Looking for some more information, yeah, there are some more reasons to go with us. Price comparison, compared to Amazon S3, we look super good. Something to instill the trust into you, and that's basically it. Some random quote, some partners working with us. This is all it. If you are convinced with this one, you can go and sign up for a free trial. This is what you will get. This is what the customers were getting after they clicked. Thank you very much. Got your contact information. We will contact you soon. The product was not out there. We did this testing back in July 2022. Actually, the product that we launched, the actual one, the commercial release that we had only happened in October. So before October, we've done all of that. Some of the traffic from the ads, from these ads, we were actually taking into the web page. The web page would look a little bit different, and we experimented with that as well. A little bit more rich on the content, I would say, but still this backup hunt thing. All right, some reasons to believe in us. All of these names are the real ones. These are the actual companies, and we wanted to start with a very simple use case because we were providing storage. These are the companies which do the backup of data backup for you, and usually they work with one of the storages. So the real ones. Yeah, something else to instill the trust into you. Some ideas on value propositions, this and that. Again, some random quotes. Whatever, most reliable, the best, the simplest, the fastest, whatever, 2 tariff plans. And actually, we wanted to test these 2 ones. Whether you go for the one with the fixed price, or you need to go higher than this. Let's talk enterprise. This is more or less it. What did we get as the result? More or less as promised. Actually, I will, to make this story more dramatic, I will stop sharing. It was a complete disaster, a complete and absolute disaster, the thing that we launched. I think we spent $3.5 grand. That it's not cheap actually with the Facebook and so on and so forth. and we did do a couple of iterations with targeting and so on and so forth. We did get enough traffic. Our goal was to get at least 100 clicks on every this free trial or buy button, and we didn't get it, not at all. We got very, very, very few clicks, out of which we actually got some very good ideas on the problems that we had. What was the biggest one? Actually, the biggest one was on the value proposition. If this is what they actually are looking for, the customers. And the second biggest one, we did manage to talk to some of these guys, was the trust. Because of the nature of the product, you would need to trust the data to somebody. They would say, yeah, it looks okay in terms of the features or the value that I would get or the pricing, but can I actually trust you? Sorry. Yep, lost it. Yeah, can I actually trust you? That was the learning. Another big learning that we had was actually on customer acquisition cost. Of course, we understood, because we are just trying, we are just learning, the customer acquisition cost will be much higher than normal. We were prepared that it is 3, maybe to 5 times higher, but we didn't expect that it would be 10 or 100 times higher. And the biggest learning actually on the funnel here was that we do get an interest. So we did get clicks on the advertisements. People did spend time on our website, but they wouldn't click on, even on the free trial, they wouldn't click there. So the problem with both the value proposition and the trust. And we got very, very little interest in actually people waiting. So very few people did respond afterwards. When we messaged them, we even offered them a discount when we actually launch the product and so on and so forth. That's a real story that we had this summer. And after that, we've done a couple of iterations to actually improve the product. If you'd ask me how the actual website looks like, so this was this mock sale, imitation of sale. That's the actual website of the company for the moment. Looks a bit different, right? The messaging is different. And actually, if you go into the pricing is totally different. It's, yeah, we're getting to this. Some of the workings of the thing, yeah, free trial is here. Pricing is very different from what we experimented with. So my message is, yeah, many things went different after that. Many things were different, and I would say that it's ideal for the moment. What we have, that's yeah, some real names, some real CEOs and CTOs, of course, here, real founders, and so on and so forth. But the key message, we were able to experiment with these very, very, very modest things before we went into actual we went into actual product. So that's the thing. Let me wrap up on this one. So okay, I told you the story. We saw how that works. What kind of question was I answering? Let's try to see. If you are trying to say to yourself, yep, it is now moment to spend those money on development. We will be developing this product. We got there's a CTO on board. We got a couple of engineers, or we know the company that will develop for us, no matter whether it is digital or not digital. If you are facing this problem, or if you have a smart investor who is asking, guys, are you really sure? I do buy into your vision, but are you really sure that people will actually pay into this? The recommendation is, before spending those tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of US dollars or euros into development, spend 1,000 or 5,000, do the simple landing page, do invest into getting the traffic into the thing, and verify how far are you from your ideal picture. in my experience, this kind of experiment, this imitation of sales before the product is out with the landing page, in most cases, 90% of the cases, worked as a cold shower for the team. The conclusions were very different depending on the team and the project, but overall, 90% of the cases, cold shower. Not at all that much interest, not at all that expected funnel. No even consensus in the team on what to actually put as an digital ad or what to put on the website. No idea how to properly build trust, so on and so forth. Cold shower, very, very, very useful. Very, very, very useful. So why I'm starting with this experiment, not with the other, not why I'm not talking the problem interviews and talking to the customers. I've done maybe even hundreds of problems interviews myself. So believe me, I know the stuff. Simply because you don't feel the problem, mindset is not there actually. And this mock sale experiment does solve for the problem. If everything is good, if you have very healthy, funnel, everybody clicks on the ad, you have good enough conversions into the landing page, and then from the landing page into buy button. And moreover, if people are, communicating with you, they say, yes, yes, please, we got it that you are not ready yet. When will you finally be there? This is super good. You've done part of the homework. You would need to have a digital advertisement and the landing page anyway, and the website anyway. That's super. You actually narrowed down some of the ideas. So the zero waste. If you hit it, zero waste, no problem. Very often this problems in problem interviews and all the qualitative research is perceived by very, goal-oriented, very concrete founders as a waste. Here in this experiment, zero waste. You have to do the page anyway. Yeah, no waste. Just go for it. But it really saves you from 10 times or even 100 times more waste into actually launching, running for 6 or 12 months into some direction, and then trying to pivot, and then you have all the problems, and then you cannot raise enough money for the pivot, burn rates, and you know the story. And then we are back into that sad 75% loss rate on the thing. So that's the key thing. And on the way, you do get a lot of kind of bonuses. You can at least get a rough idea. Actually, we learned that Google works much better for us than Facebook. Okay, that's a bonus. We did get an idea of which ads actually attract much more attention. Super, that's a bonus. That's a good idea into the value proposition. Actually, we redid the web page after those most successful ads after that. Now, how do I build trust? That's a bonus. Interested to waste, bonus, to wait, bonus, and so on and so forth. So that's the thing. Now, I'm sure you have questions. Let me run through a couple of these two more experiments that I plan to before we go into the questions. These two experiments will help me to actually answer your questions. Number one that I think you would have, okay, but how do we prepare for this thing? So you said do these ads. How do we prepare for this? And actually, that's number one experiment that I would want to offer you. Now we are back into the silent interview. I will spend much less time on the silent interview and mashup than the mock sale. And then we will talk about this. So silent interview basically is designed to see how that, well, let's see how that works. Let me jump directly into the mirror and show you how that works, how that worked in practice. So we had some ideas on what we want to do. Actually, we filled out the experiment card. We said, okay, that's the type of the experiment we want to do. This is the flow. This all of the things we want to do. Strengths of the evidence we will get, number of data points we want to collect, so on and so forth. So we've done all of that. Actually, a couple of times we said, okay, This is what we believe in, and this is what how we verify, and this is we are right. If so, yeah, we said to ourselves, if we get 100 customers at the competitive customer acquisition cost, maybe 2 times of customer acquisition cost, if the funnel shape is reasonably healthy, this is good. And then we went into actual generation. Now, let me come back to this design principle that we have. Remember, we had the thing that diverge thing. So although our founders had very solid idea what should sell, which actually had proven to be wrong. Now we were all, in the hindsight, we are all very smart. But okay, but I will give you the real thing. So we believed that where is that? Yeah, we are building a decentralized storage, meaning that we will actually store our data across not only one data center, but a mesh of many small nodes, not real data centers, but like if you have 1 terabyte of storage free and you sign up to become a partner. So this is how we would store. We have a solution how to encrypt the data, how to back it up, how retrieve, so on and so forth. And of course, we would incentivize those nodes with the tokens. Of course, Web3 economy is there, everything is there, super trendy. So our founders did believe that, please don't quote me for that, that as soon as we shoot the idea that we are decentralized storage, you know, that the word decentralized is this philosophical stone with which we will touch everything and it will turn into gold. Everybody will just, you know, run from Google and AWS and Azure and DigitalOcean and Wasabi and this. All of the storages of the world will just run to us. So this idea had failed terribly. Nobody actually was interested in this particular thing. But you know how it is to argue with founders. You are founders yourself. You know how it is for you to argue with yourself, or with for your team to argue with yourself. So we didn't want to argue in the room. It's just dangerous. You could get fired. You could get fired. So instead we said, okay, but what are other ideas besides that decentralized thing? And tell you the truth, I did manage to do the problem interviews before, not as many as I wanted, but I did have quite some interviews with actual customers of the competition. So we picked up a few ideas, and of course we've done the homework, we've done the desk research, and we went through their websites and so on and so forth. So we did pick up on some of the words that the competition was using. Actually studied their advertising campaigns as well. So one of the ideas was not distributed, but rather resilient one, best availability. Another one was always available. Some people were complaining, and you do have sometimes, despite all of this new technology, AWS did have outages. So that was another one, always available. And of course, we went for the idea very affordable. And another one would be, we actually can store and locate your data up to the country. And, you know, sometimes it is important, especially for Europe with GDPR and so on and so forth. And another idea that we had is actually data protection. It's a trendy topic. You can store your data and actually lock it so that nobody can delete it. There is a technology that allows you to lock your backup, and nobody, even the provider, can delete it and you cannot delete it either, for some period of time, called an object lock, for those of you who care. There is a trendy word called immutability of the backup. This is very often used for compliance reasons, like some data has to stay there for compliance reasons. Some, okay, you see, I'm preaching my product. I will wrap up this. Don't worry. Okay. So never mind, we brainstormed this idea initially, everything was on the stickers, and then we use these very simple templates, and these were the pictures that we just Googled within 5 minutes. You see, if you look into this thing, it's somebody's picture. We just did the thing, right? And we try to do this attention grabbing titles, and the call to action would be like that: pick your country, the continent, and a couple of more words on the one sentence that describes your value proposition. So yes, we did that as well through decentralization, so on and so forth. Actually, it took us a couple of sessions, initially just on the stickers, and then we created these ads. And then this poor guy actually went into the interviews with the customers. And you can guess what I was doing, right? I was telling the customer, imagine you are browsing, and all of a sudden you see these ads, and yeah, please don't put it don't really, you shouldn't really care that it's not beautiful. Just you saw that ad. Imagine that you saw that ad, and also you saw another ad like that, yeah, or you saw another ad, number 3, like that. So out of those 3 ads that you would see, and we would show all of them, all 3 of them, let's say, on the screen, or 2 of them on the screen, which one would you pick? And you are only allowed to pick one. And the customer, and that would be a one-on-one interview, and the customer would say, oh yeah, all right, I will go, yeah, I will actually go for cost. So this is if you're promising me to save 80% of my money, 75% of my money, I will go for that one. We would remove this one and say, okay, now you are left with 2 others, this one and yeah, playing with this, and this, the most resilient or decentralized. Which one would you pick? Geolocation or decentralization? And they would say, okay, again, out of this choice, I would go for that one, and so on and so forth. So that's called, this experiment called card sorting. So this is how we would pick the leaders. And let's imagine that that piggy thing was the leader. We would say, okay, so number 1 thing that you liked was that. Now, silent interview. What's so silent about it? Now, look at this ad. Look at this ad once again. Look at this ad once again. Yeah. Looking at it once again. And look at these questions now in black. Not these ones. But look at the questions in black. What is this business or product about? Looking at this thing. Who is it for? Who is it not for? What are you unsure about? What are you drawn to? What could make it better? I will not explain you anything. We are pretending that you saw the ad and while browsing. Please answer those questions initially to me, and then let's talk. And if we had enough time, we would go through this one and a couple of more, all the same scenario, and I wouldn't explain anything on the product, actually, nothing. We are imitating that the person is actually seeing something while browsing. And after we've collected everything, we would actually discuss, we would actually talk and see, we were trying to pick the customer's mind on that. Of course, after you've done it, you could in a nice way group the ideas and the likes and dislikes and the questions that the customer had. But this was more or less it. And you can already guess why I would recommend you to run that experiment. Actually, I'll come back before the mock sale, because this is how you arrive at your top ads. So this is actually how we develop the top ads with this customer feedback. Normally, you do like 5 interviews. Usually, after the first 5 interviews, you get a better idea. So that was the first lineup. Then we had a couple of more ideas. After the 5 ideas, we actually improved it a little bit. That was improvement. And then we went for the 3rd iteration. We developed these things like they will be presented when in the real when they will be placed in digital. So that was the third iteration. And again, we improved the stuff, both the wording, the idea, the picture, whatever the customers told us. And then we only launched the actual experiment with the landing page. So to wrap up on this experiment, everything, and I will take you through the thing now, through the flow. Actually, it does start with the goal, with this hypothesis card, with this experiment card. So you need to decide what you will measure at the end. So this is how it's all started. Then on the stickers, we generated the ideas. I'm skipping that through. And created the first versions of the ads. And then, as I said, we've done 3 iterations, ended up with those ads. And some of the comments are up there, the real ads. And only after that, we went, and you can actually see it here, probably. Yeah, we've designed those both the landing page and the web page that I showed to you. So only after that silent interview experiment, we went into this thing. Now, I promised you a universal design principle. I'm coming back to it. Diverge, inspiration. So, like, despite founders wanted me to be here, and actually they objected any of this mock sale thing initially. They said, let's just launch the website. We'll have the product in October. Let's just prepare and launch the website in October. I said, no. First, we generated more ideas on other ideas of value proposition besides this storage being decentralized. And then we were still diverging, still drawing inspiration from conversations with the customers, those problem interviews, generating the ideas, showing them those ads, getting their comments, what they like, dislike, what they don't believe in, what kind of questions they still have. So all of that was diverge, and then we converge. How we converged actually, these things were already converged. These ads, they were already converged. So we initially converged onto actually 2 messages, 2 ads that we want to run. That was the one, and we also converged on how the landing page, and the website will look like. So that was the converge. Now back to the universal principle. Before actually doing the thing, it makes sense to draw some inspiration from the customers, from the research, from the competition, wherever you can. And then converge into some prototypes and then test the prototypes. If you want to design pricing, same thing. Even if you believe that you will sell for $9.99 per month subscription, do design, a little bit higher, a little bit lower. Do go for some crazy stuff like, okay, in my business, nobody is trying, I don't know, pay-as-you-go model. I will test it. That would be a diverge. And then you converge. Or if you want to design the channel, you're pretty sure that you will go digital, right? Very good. Let's still make an effort, go draw some inspiration, and what would be the diverge? What other channels can be used? And then all of a sudden, and this happened in our case actually, our go-to-market team, they came up with an idea that, especially when we had those trust issues, why not go for partners? Why not go for partners? Why not try to make the partners, these guys, where are the partners? Why not try to go for these guys? Because these guys, through these guys, you get a lot of trust. It is easier to convince 3 partners and then get 300 customers through them than, well, while you are still a not known startup, to get 300 customers directly, even if it is cheaper, even if the margin is better. This was the idea that was actually generated within this diverge phase. One of the small dots here. Yeah, let's test if maybe going through the partners is actually simpler than just And we have super mega grand experts in performance marketing. Trust me, not cheap guys, plus an agency. We are funded startup, you know. So, but this was one of the ideas, and actually that worked. So universal principle, even if you think that you know the solution, whatever it is, value proposition, pricing, channels, whatever, give it a thought, try to think and experiment, generate a few more ideas, try to experiment with them, test, and then converge. All right, let's wrap up on this one experiment thing. So where were we? We were actually onto this silent interview. I showed you how that worked in real life. And the last one, but not least, the mashup. That's a classical experiment. Basically, it says, and I want to talk through this very briefly. And again, in terms of storytelling, I will use the example of the startup that I'm working for. Imagine we would need to do all of this infrastructure. So all of this decentralized network of nodes. Where is the good picture of that thing? You know, yeah, this potentially thousands of nodes where we want to store the data. Actually, it takes time to build. If you are into any kind of Web3, then you will understand that actually, you know, if we want to incentivize these guys with the token, we need to design the tokenomics. We need to understand what kind of infrastructure partners we want. We want to come up with all of these, you know, mint and burn and this and that mechanics. We need to actually do the token generation event. And if you fail after the token generation event, if your token runs down, crashes, then you have no second chance, so on and so forth. So imagine, and many of the projects out there, they did start actually with that, with building the network and only building the supply, and only after that going for a demand. And many of them crashed. A lot of our competitors did crash. Super smart guys in the Web3 world, super good, you know, reputation, technology, Web3 tokenomics, token generation event. Everything was out there, but they failed on the demand side. The token crashed, everything crashed. We didn't want to do that. We didn't want to raise money based on the network that we built. We are raising money, and we raised money based on the demands, based on real world Web2 customers actually buying stuff from us. So we said, okay, but how do we fake it until we make it? And we went for the guys who had the technology with these crashed tokens, and we did actually use their networks in order to provide our service. That's a mashup. So we would have our front end, we would have, of course, our billing, so on and so forth, our ideas, but the backend, well, we would have a part of the backend, I would say. But for the biggest part, we would go for this. And of course, in terms of for the infrastructure of these other guys. And of course, in terms of billing, we just connected Paddle. You know, we didn't try to engineer the solution, so on and so forth. Yes, and all of this, if you want to use the trendy word, is called a mashup. So we did launch not only an MVP, but also we did initially a closed beta and then open beta, and went into testing sales, real sales, without having a fully fledged product. We still don't. It is how many 25 days past the launch. We still don't have the fully fledged products in terms of all of the infrastructure. And I think realistically, we might only have a complete infrastructure only mid next year, our target infrastructure. And until that time, we will be using the bits and pieces of both infrastructure, software as a service, whatever, from the other guys. So in a nutshell, this experiment number 3 mesh up is and it's natural. I'm pretty sure all of you are doing that, but I wanted to give it a form, a shape. It's a best practice to actually launch your product with this. Another example, if you know the Ukrainian start called Legal Notes, which is basically providing the legal advice within the subscription as a platform, as a service. I cannot reveal, I was working with that team, I cannot reveal what they built their initial infrastructure on, but of course it was not their own backend. It was a very popular solution as an engine, launched very successful. All right, I think we can wrap up both on the experiments and the thing. So what kind of question I was trying to answer through this, it happened to be more of a lecture than a workshop. Was planned this way. What is one experiment that I would recommend you to do if you are serious before spending much money? And I said, one experiment, we cannot actually get by with one, but if you are down to one, do the mock sale, imitate the sale. If you can do a real pre-sale, I mean, collect the credit card information or sign real contracts, or in B2B, sign the letters of intent, that's super good. That's super. But even if you don't have product, you're not prepared to deal with all the security or GDPR, collect the credit card or personal data, then just imitate it, do the mock sale. So that's number one. Actually, the natural progression is before the mock sale to diverge, and through those silent interviews, develop a proper digital ads, proper messaging, proper prototypes of your value proposition, proper ideas on the value proposition, and then put them into both the digital ads and onto your landing page in the website. So that would be the proper progression. And if you are fine and you don't have to pivot after this thing, and we were on the verge of pivoting actually after this, then of course, still let's get our product out there as cheaply as possible, and then Meshup is our friend. So if you would ask me, out of all the experience of work with all teams, all the literature, whatever, everything, if I had to pick one experiment, I told you it is mock sale. No matter how you do it, the best progression, the progression is this one. Is this 1 to 3? Okay, let's see if we covered the goals more or less. I tried to address this mindset, and the key message here was do design before development. And all of these 3 things are actually an elements of design before actually doing it. Now, what was another element of the mindset was this diverge, converge, generate ideas, test them, and then converge. So that's all that I wanted to say about the mindset. If you solve for a mindset, you are away painlessly or almost painlessly out of the solution trap, unless you are very stubborn founder, which helps in a way. Yeah, persevere, persist, but in a way it's a risk. Now, on educational and practical training, although that was not the purpose, I did try to give you some ideas of 3 super practical things. So if you believe you don't have time for all of the problem interviews and here and there and all of the research, just do those 3 experiments, I would say. The last one, that's so simple that I didn't even want to waste a slide. No, not the last one, but no assign CastDev role and resources. This thing will not work unless somebody assumes this role. Now, whoever in your team is assuming the role of either product management, even if you are 1-person team, then it is you who are the product manager. Whoever it is there who is a product manager, then it is with this person. All of those experiments, I couldn't find a better fit actually. Or sometimes it is go-to-market team. So these CAS dev tricks, they have to live with somebody. Unless they do, then basically kind of try to decide ahead of time who you will blame for having to pivot without cheap experiments, and do decide that whoever is taking care of the product or go to market will be blamed. First of all, everybody will take the blame, but that person will blame for not running those experiments. Make a laugh out of it, yeah, of course, but you know, in this there is something serious about this, very serious. Talk about the money. And I hope I did try to cover this perceived framework complexity a little bit. So with this one to three. Now, on the resources, hundreds of books. I iterated this version of the lecture many times already. My experience is you don't read them, you don't buy them, no matter how advertised. So I will only do one book, which actually is not. It's not actually a book. It's like this anti-conference. This is anti-book, guys. It's anti-book. Basically, you don't have to read it. It's just a list of experiments. Super good, a list of experiments. They say 44 experiments. So basically, whatever you need the mock sale. You forgot about what was covered here. You want to look it up, you can Google, or you can just open this book, read about the mock sale. It guides you through the steps. You want to test that silent interview thing. Yeah, you get tips and tricks in this book. So you don't have to read it, only work with it. So I only recommend you one of the books. And by the way, if you're interested, these are the guys who pioneered, launched all the hype around the business models and value proposition canvas, so on and so forth. That's the same team, Alexander Osterwalder and company strategy. So only one recommendation on the resources. That's a photo actually of the experiments they have in the book, so that you get an idea that is super mega practical. And you do get a bit of a theory, but just a little bit. All right, with this, I think we can get back into your questions, and yeah, let's do it. I would say perfect timing. We aimed at 1 hour and 15 minutes for the lecture. I have a question, and you know that question. Anybody there? Anybody there? Super. Let's talk.
We're here.
Yeah, Yulia, if you, you.
Hi, Andrei. Thanks so much for this presentation. I really discovered interesting things for myself, and because we with the team, we were discussing how we can do this customer development in a more efficient way. Because we started to interview people, like we designed questions, and we started to set in-person one-to-one interviews. So my question is, how is efficient this type of customer development? Do we waste the time or not? Because we still get some interesting insights.
I have a good news actually for you. If you'd ask me what we do in the real life, because I simplify it a little bit so that you believe it can be done. So in real life, when you recruit a person to test within that silent interview, to test the ads, the prototypes of the digital ads, that testing can be done quite quickly. So within 20-30 minutes, 20 minutes very often, you do all the testing. You present 5 cards, you card sort them, and then you get them to answer those questions. You talk a little bit more, and that's it. And of course, when you recruit a person, very often you can get them you can promise them 40 minutes, but can actually 30-40, but you can drag the conversation into an hour usually, if you are entertaining enough. So that's how it normally works. So because that testing, that silent interview is quick, what we usually do, we actually, we are very greedy. We actually do two more experiments, with a silent interview. Number one, this is how we start. We actually start with a mini problem interview. Usually within the mini problem interview, you can only ask 2 questions. You need to start the conversation somehow. And then you only ask 1 key question that you have. Like, all right, you know that the best questions are the questions about the stories. So what's your experience with using, you know, a similar product currently? You know, tell me the story, what kind of problems you have. Even if the person talks 15 minutes about that story, that's usually very often enough to get an idea. So in the real life, we try to spend 15 minutes on that mini problem interview at a shorter version of what you are probably doing currently. Boil it down to 1 or 2 most critical questions. Then we do that silent interview. And important moment, just a very important thing. Before the problem interview or before the silent interview, we never quite explain what our product is about. That's the key. That's a very important thing. So we didn't explain the product yet. After the silent interview, we do explain the product, and then we run a super fast experiment, number 3, called Speedboat. Basically, you ask a question: if our product was a boat, right? Or no, okay, I think it will be more polite now to call this experiment an airplane. Okay, if our product was an airplane, why wouldn't it take off? You know, what would drag it down? Why wouldn't the idea fly? So give me everything that you think would crush this idea, crush this product idea. Please be brutal with us and tell us why this will not work. So we spend another 5 to 10 minutes on asking this interviewee to crush our business ideas. Some of the super best insights we actually got out of that kind of crushing phase. So in the real life, if we do get a person for 40 minutes, better 50, we run a bit of the problem interview, mini problem interview, 15 to 20 minutes. Then we do test value propositions, silent interview, and then we do that crash test. If you will want to Google that experiment in the classics, it's called the Speedboat. You will see. Now, you could ask me, honestly, as a service designer, and I was for 6, 7, almost 8 years a service designer, certified all over the place in Europe. Basically, that was the key product with which I was earning money. So as a service designer, actually, we were mostly doing those problem interviews. The problem is for you. First of all, usually you are further, you progressed further. You are further away from that stage. You already have quite a bit of ideas on the actual value proposition, that the product idea, the solution, the service. That's one. Second is, it is not that easy actually to properly synthesize ideas out of the problem interviews. If you get the wrong customers, if you talk to wrong people, you can completely get the wrong idea. Will guide you in the wrong direction, so on and so forth. So that's why our recommendation out of all of these years of experience to startups, sorry, I'm running against the current of many books here, to start actually with testing. Write down all the ideas on value proposition that you have. Actually, we have a very good formula on how to write down the value proposition. Actually, it's an answer to a question: our customer will switch into our product because. So what will move? What will make them move? Because they are decentralized, because we are cheaper, because we are faster, whatever. Super. So do write down all of your ideas and value proposition and test them, and do a little bit of here and there. So that's the best practice. Sorry, it was a long answer, but you gave me a chance to tell you what I.
Sure.
Yeah, the story. Excellent. I love problem interviews. Actually, to run it properly, you have to do a lot of prep and a lot of work on synthesis. And you have to recruit proper people. All of this persona thing it's not straightforward actually. And if you pick the wrong persona at the end of the day, yeah, you might just run into the problem. It's safer to go with testing the value proposition and do a little bit of problem interview, of course. Andrei, yeah, you're. I'm sorry, I was not polite. Yulia, does it help? Does it actually?
Yes,
answer? Yeah.
yes, thank you.
Mhm. Andrei, yep, your question.
Hi, Andrei. Thank you
Andrei.
for nice presentation. I actually do have a few questions. First of all, you mentioned that you drove the traffic during your experiments to landing and to the website.
Mhm.
It's not a classical A/B testing, so the question is, why did you do that? And the second question is, on what proportion of traffic did you manage to direct to landing and to website? And what conclusions did you have?
Yeah. The website was kind of a last resort when we realized that you saw on that particular landing, it is very ascetic, like
Yes.
minimum things that we realized pretty fast that they don't trust us. And because they don't trust us, they don't sign up even for a free trial. So that was the problem. And at the end of the experiment, we realized we need to instill a little bit more of trust, and we could expand on trust on the website. So that was the thing. Alternative would be just do another version of the landing page, and do all the trust stuff there. So just put more content on the landing page. That would be an alternative. I would say it's classical. It never goes classic actually. We had some pressure on both the budget, timing, so on and so forth. We drew just enough conclusions from the experiment and we moved on. That was the process. You asked what kind of, we looked at the conversions. They were terrible, very bad. I mean, the conversions from landing into free trial and from website into the free trial. They were, so we got healthy enough conversions and healthy compared to, we had some insider information, what kind of level of conversions you could get in the competitive space from the agency. We got it.
Mhm.
So we compared ourselves and also to our previous experience. We have a strong go-to-market team, the performance marketing team. So we basically compared to previous experience and to some of that insider data. And so, okay, of course it was bad. I mean, conversions from ads into the landing, but even it was like at least 5 times more than that what was we expected. But we thought, of course, yeah, we are just starting. We don't know the targeting properly, so on and so forth. But so we could drive it down. So it was good enough. But the conversions from the landing into the buy button or free trial button were just terrible. And we realized, okay, until we do the proper thing with the trust, we just, this will not help. This is what actually draw us towards this partner thing. So we took two conclusions. First, we shouldn't focus on this decentralization idea that founders were pushing. That was the first one. And the second, we should go for partners for the sake of trust.
So your message is that try to use landing only to change the messages, the buttons, the call to actions. And then when we get a good rate of conversion, to try to do it on a website, right?
I would let me generalize on this. Let me generalize. Whichever way, if you can get a healthy funnel with approximately 100 clicks on the pay button or free trial button, you are God.
Okay.
You are God. Tell me the name of your startup. I will bring you my money. I believe in you.
Okay.
That usually, of course, 100 of clicks is not quite statistically representative, you know that, but it's at least something, that's close enough already. And you will need to spend either you got it right from the very beginning, or you will have to spend enough money. We didn't get 100 clicks we stopped the experiment before we thought, okay, we are wasting money. So that's the ultimate goal. So if the funnel is healthy, for 100 clicks, we are good. Now, if you don't get it, then you analyze it and then you see. If nobody is clicking on the ad, and the problem is the very value proposition, the very top idea. If they get into the website, then what is the problem there? We did manage to talk to some of the guys. Some of the guys did leave us the emails. This is how we structured the funnel. So we were able to write to them and get to talk to them. And we asked what kind of reservations they had, and they said, yeah, I was almost away from the page because of this and that. And this is how we got about this trust problem.
And 100 clicks for what budget is healthy proportion?
Well, it all depends on your market. I would say 100 clicks is driving you towards some of the statistics. This is what I got from experience and from the books, so to say. It's like when you are being asked how many problem interviews you would need to do if you have the proper recruiting. Usually 15 interviews is enough. Sometimes some of the books go into 50. I don't believe in 50. I would say 15. With this 100 is just the same. You know, it's a roll of a thumb or less of a thing.
Okay, and I have another question. You mentioned that you added partners on your website and on your landing. Mm-hmm. And as I understand, you added the partners because of to raise the level of the trust of.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
My question is that first of all, at what stage did you add them? Because I believe that morally the startup morally should think about adding the partners. And then what kind of partners, on what criteria you added them? So what were the questions? And how did you convince them to come to your early startup?
Yeah. That's a super question. Actually, on finding the proper partners, it was super simple. I will illustrate it just in a second. Now, I think actually that's a super question. Of course, because you're a startup, you have the same problems of trust with the partners, almost the same ones as with the customers. So we did a trick. We did fake it before we made it. So we initially tested if our product will work with the software of those partners. And I will go into. I will share the screen. All right. So let's assume this is the competitor of ours. This is our competitor, one of our competitors, and we went to the partners and we went to Technology Alliance partners, and so aha. So this is what they do, right? So these are the partners that they are promoting. Probably we would need to work with them, and of course we double checked, but we are a storage. So basically, one of the use cases is backup, and this company's Veeam or MSP360, they are like, if you go into G2 backup software, I'm doing that G2 backup software 2022, right? This is where I go. Right. Okay, I'm in private mode and something is happening, but it doesn't matter. Oh my God, I'm human. Okay, I think, believe me. Okay, if you know that resource that you used it, so in the G2, they have these grids. They have these grids. You find it there, and let's say I went to the grid, and they have in the top right corner they had the leaders, and you see the Veeam is up there. That's one of the partners that we wanted to get, and there are some other there. So basically, we did verify the thing. You can go into enterprise. Yeah, you get this picture. That's live. That's trending. So that was another way how to find the partners and verify if they are worth talking to. but competition was a good enough proxy. And yeah, and there was one more thing, because we wanted to go into the backup use case. I'm showing you all of this nitty gritty, but you'll see how that works. Yeah, we went to the backup and recovery, and sorry, their website is a little not super trendy, but okay. Here you go. So you get to these partners. Now, because we are software, we tested if we just got we subscribed into that software and tested if that software works with our object storage. And as soon as we learned that it works okay, we put that they are our partner, and then small print. We tested it. We tested it from our side. It has never been actually tested from their side by their team, but we tested it from our side. So fake it until you make it. This is how we went initially, and then of course we have one salesperson, an experienced one, and he was leveraging all of his connections here and there, and finally, over actually a course of couple of months, he managed to get into some proper people, into these partners, and get into the thing. So it was a lot of work. I think it took us about 2 months to actually get proper contacts within those partners and to sell the idea to them. But we were already using their names on our website with this kind of backward compatibility thing. Again, I could say that it's part of this mashup idea. So yeah, we faked it.
Did I get you correctly, Andrei? You brought the partners as clients of as service providers for you, right? So you started to use their services, and that's how they appeared?
This is how we tested. So we ourselves opened an account within that partner, yes, and tested if their software works with our software. If it works, we did all the tests. We would already put their name on the thing, and then the small print. We tested this compatibility.
Even without communicating with them, right?
Without communicating to them, without anything signed on their side, nothing was done. And it worked, and they never complained actually. It's just a norm, more or less.
It's a very interesting idea.
You have to swim.
Yes.
And yeah, only after a couple of months we managed to start talking to them properly, but they never complained. You are tiny compared to the ocean of things that they are seeing, so they don't really care. And if they did notice that we are doing that, I would love actually somebody from them complaining. Super, let's talk.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, any other questions?
Yeah, sorry, Andrei. It is Nick from CPay. And what about if we are talking about B2B solutions? You are kind of like a B2B solution, but I think it is really, really wide. But if we have main partners are really like businesses, for example, crypto exchanges and stuff like that, and it is really hard to get to them. And we need our first connections to make our service to be working. What would you recommend in this case?
Yeah, it's hard actually. It's harder, it pays back then, but it's hard. Now for B2B overall, I would say two things. Technically, there is a solution. Usually, instead of we are in the B2B, by the way, as well. But what we realized, we try to go for enterprise customers, and then we have this trust issue, even bigger one. So we just lower the bar, and as you lower the bar, you can get it into testing in the digital actually. So that thing we tested digitally, although we are B2B, so it's not that bad. On the other hand, the other thing that we've done. We tried to sign, and the classical answer to your question would be, instead of a mock sale or together with a mock sale, try to sign the letters of intent. Or whatever is, email exchange, which resembles a letter of intent is good enough. The classical answer is letter of intent. It's never legally binding, but anyway, before committing to signing it or even replying something positive to your email in whatever free form, they think twice. So that's the way usually to go in B2B. All the other steps, all the principles are the same, but just the nature of the experiment is different.
But first of all, it is better to. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Sorry. No. Go ahead.
Yeah, so it is better, like, first of all, to try to get big players on the market that we want to cooperate with, or to try to attract as more small people and small businesses so that we want to interact with. Is there any ideas about that one?
I don't think you have a recipe here. Honestly, I don't think it's you try your best. If we manage to get one of the Fortune 500 customers, well, that would be a big win. And we did try. Honestly, we did try. No way, we couldn't. Okay, so we went the other way. But you can still try. Maybe you have the connection and so on and so forth. That's. I think the experiment here is cheap enough. There is one thing, by the way. There is a book. I will link it in the resources. I will do that. Called Lean B2B. There are a few books actually by this author. He found a niche of doing the books for on customer development and for startups on B2B. So that's his niche. That's how the book is called. I will try to get a picture of it. Yeah, and the link. I will just send you a link to the first book, but he has a lot now. So do choose which one you like. It is going into the chat right now. Yeah, you got it in the chat. He has quite a bit of good advice actually specifically on startupping in B2B and cost dev in B2B. And one of the first, I was doing my studio in B2B. I'm sorry, I'm telling stories, but it's easier always with the stories. And the first thing that I was shocked with reading his book, because I was doing my studio in B2B, if you don't have proper connections in the domain that you want to innovate for, don't try. Because it's unlike in B2C. It's real hard without connections. You have to get to those people. So yourself or your partner, or you have to buy this somehow, like buy a proper salesperson. So that's a trade-off. Okay, does it help?
Yep. Thanks.
Okay, super. Other questions? I think I will need to wrap up in like 7 minutes. But we still have 7 minutes to go. All right.
Hello,
Okay.
Andrei. May I ask you a question?
Yeah, sure.
We've
sure,
been
please.
with our team. I'm from Domschalt. With my team, we are searching on products that we could sell, and my question is, how do we know? Do we need to buy them all to test the quality, or should we check on the reviews? Because some of the products I do have, but from other stores that I bought in advance, I didn't even know I'll be in Domschalt. So based on some of the experience that I've been researching the last 2 years, I could give advice on some of the products, but of course not on all. We still need to test them somehow. Many of them are expensive because they're kids, What would be your advice? How should we go around? Maybe we should interview Americans, because we'll work directly with American market. Those who are already using them. And should we pay attention on competition? Maybe some of the items that are not sold so much on Amazon, it's not a saturated market. How would you do the testing? Because I research a lot on the internet. We all do, but we don't have all the products. And we're thinking about 20 or 50, but we don't have them all. So Yulia is also doing customer development, and I'm working on the products. What would
Right,
be your
right.
advice?
But
Why
the
should we-
problem is, yeah, I'm trying to understand the question better. The problem is you don't have the things to test with, or you cannot recruit people for tests.
No,
Or
we don't
no.
have all the items. Should we
Mhm.
start buying them to test? Because you need to
Yeah, yeah.
touch, you need to see, you need to see how it works. You know, if it's a good quality, if it doesn't break easy, and
Yeah.
like an example, a tent. You know, you go in the woods, you need a tent, and materials can burn in the sun. You use a few times, and that's it. It's a bunch of
Yeah.
holes.
Yeah.
But
You
you're
are
not at the
developing.
factory to see the quality. Yeah.
You are developing a physical product, right? Your
We'll have services and products,
services and products.
but we are
Okay.
concentrating on the products. Or I guess.
Right. Well, I would need to give it a thought. I am not sure. And honestly, I'm not sure if I have a good answer.
That's
I don't want to, and I don't want to pretend. I'm not.
and
Well,
other people go with samples, you know, like cheap samples.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
can afford to go with samples. But for us, for kids, how do you go with samples? You know,
well, but I
but
think
to attract more customers, and there must be some tricks. I don't know how do you say it? Fake it. But you
So you
don't
make
really want to fake it. You want to be real and people to
I
trust
see
you.
I see what
and
you
grow your
mean.
business.
Well, usually, normally, I'm not sure if it is possible in your for your team, but normally you could go in the progression, so you actually you can imitate it. The whole idea is actually the first, like with those card sorting and the digital ads. You saw it was actually very cheap to do. You don't even need a designer. You just
Or much investment at the beginning.
yeah. You just, and you don't have to invest into actually. The biggest investment that we had was we did a kind of a campaign on the LinkedIn and on Reddit, and we were offering from 20 to 40 euros per interview. So that was the investment, and we did it in like more or less 3 iterations, 5 and 5 and 5. So that was an investment. The rest
Maybe we could give out free information. I don't know if we can give free samples, but we'll be building a library on preparations
we
for
will think
emergencies.
to create guides, and maybe in this case we can test mock guides at least if there is an interest of clicking on them. If there is a problem with products, that's a current stage.
Yeah, if you have, the whole idea is, can you create initially a chip? All of these ideas, you see, all of these experiments, is it possible to test cheap compared to the actual production? So whatever you can, but I cannot give you a proper idea.
One more question, sorry, about manufacturer suppliers and manufacturers. Which ones are more trustworthy, you think? How do we check on trustworthiness that they would not give up on working with us at the beginning? Or who do we not who do we choose, because you won't know the answer for that, but on what should we pay attention when we choose with whom to work with? On what are they looking for there in the States, and that we could provide in return? Because we'll be looking at different websites and different suppliers, and some have poor websites, not much information. Some are already on Amazon. Some don't give you much information, like a free sample, so we test them and see if we would like to work with them, because we're more in drop shipping. We don't need to invest that much. We'll be like intermediate between the customers and the manufacturers, suppliers. So do you know anything about drop shipping?
Yeah,
to give us an advice?
I get an idea. Yeah, but you see, this like sometimes it's simple, sometimes it is not. Just with the software, if you can go into some kind of this aggregated reviews and so on and so forth, like that G2 website simplifies a lot. And then of course, not all of these leaders are prepared to work with you. If you go for suppliers, actually, it's much more complicated in the real physical world, which is your case. I'm not sure if these things do exist there, but I would propose that to all of us. It's like a toast. Yeah, let's think if we can run real simple things. Like if you have an idea of what your offer for a supplier is, because you are developing your value, part of your value proposition is the one for the supplier. If you can do a nice email with, I don't know, maybe a picture or something, whatever, and send to all of them, all, I don't know, 20, 50, how many you have, and just see if you get any traction there, you get anybody is interested, you know, if they're open and so on and so forth.
But we
Maybe-
shouldn't disclose that we're drop shipping, or what is best to do.
This I don't know. This I don't know.
Because some might not want to work with, you know.
You can experiment.
Yeah.
You can send the letter from two
Try
different
different
domains.
things.
Yeah, from one domain, register a couple of domains, send from one domain, drop shipping from another. They will
Do we
not
have to
open your-
purchase the domains, or there are free domains? I know that you need
Yeah,
to
there
purchase
are free domains. Yeah, there are
free
well,
domains. Mhm.
or almost free. Almost free. You don't have to, and very few of them will open your email, so you shouldn't worry. You know,
Really?
of course.
They will think it's a spam.
Well, I mean, it's not about you; it's about everybody.
Okay.
All right. I
Thank you.
propose, yeah, I think, yeah, I propose to wrap up. Yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah, I usually, the workshop is even better than the lecture. But we work with this format today. I will talk to the management, to the management, I will talk to Nastya and the team. I will see if I can help you any further. Right.
Thank
And
you
you will
so
get
much.
the slides. Yeah, I will. Yeah.
Mhm.
Add a couple of things and you will get the slides tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you
very
very
much.
much. Thanks, Andrew.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Andre.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye, everyone.